Hello and welcome to the Outcast. I'm your host HC, and with me is.
Wolf.
And today it's the final dance, the last dance. What is it called? The last dance, I think. Yeah, the last
Hmm.
dance. We are finishing up the Venom trilogy. This has been, honestly, this was like what, 6 years since the first one. Hard to believe almost.
Yeah.
And so now technically the final Venom movie is here. If you haven't seen the time that we talked about it, and Morbius, won't blame you if you don't remember that one. It's Morbius. So we basically, just to refresh the people at home, I I have a love-hate relationship with the first Venom movie, but I still consider it a guilty pleasure. And I do legit really enjoy the second one. It's not a masterpiece by any means, but for what it tries to do, it's a lot of fun. What
Yeah.
about you?
I remember, I didn't hate the first one. I thought it was fine. Definitely not as good as some other superhero films we've seen, but still fun enough. And then the second one, I think I enjoyed a lot more as well. Like, definitely a lot more fun and a lot more enjoyable. Still not perfect, but better than the first one.
Mhm.
Number three,
Well,
though.
and so before we get to that, I also just want to before we get into actually we're not going to into spoilers right now, but I just want to say regarding this, I am to those who don't know us, I am the bigger Spider-Man fan than Wolf is. Ergo, I'm probably the bigger Venom guy than Wolf. And I'm bringing this up because I think there are some points where you're probably going to say, oh, this is the big Spider-Man nut, and even he thinks so and so about things. I just like to point that out. That being said,
Hmm.
this sure was a movie.
It, it was interesting.
Like, it was indeed a movie. That's one way I can put it, because wow, when that ended, I'm like, really? This is the big finale.
Well, it's weird too, right? Because it's like, is this supposed to be like, are they planning on going more with Venom, or is this like Venom is done? Because the way I
Okay,
understood it, it felt like Venom was
no
done. Like it was a
spoilers.
trilogy and Venom is done, right?
Well, no spoilers yet, but
That
right now the idea is that Tom Hardy is in an my contract is up, but never say never about returning.
mm,
But we'll talk more about the future
with
in a bit.
that in mind, yeah, it's a movie.
Hmm. I tell you what, it feels like something was missing here. Like there was an
Yeah.
extra movie. There was maybe like a movie or two more that needed to happen before this one. This one felt like it was rushing towards a finish line that I didn't even know was there.
Well, it also feels like
And
there's just stuff missing from this one too, because like
yeah,
our final villain is weird. Our final fight is kind of also weird, and like I don't know. It feels like there's stuff that goes on in this one that just was not set up in the previous two films. I feel like at all,
hmm,
and then we have like a new villain being introduced who doesn't really matter at all whatsoever.
yeah, it's like, let's say this. This is just a theory on my end. I'm not saying that this is what happened, but something here feels like there was a last minute rewrite or reshoot, or something happened at some stage of the production where they're like, okay, Mobius and Madam Web didn't do well, so abort. We need to fix some stuff here, because there's no way we're going to keep this up. Then again, we are getting Craven, so who knows what? I don't know. I have no listen. someone knows dark secrets about the about the Sony CEO, because
I
they do whatever the hell they want, and I'm not sure if they even have a plan. And because now there's obviously no plan, and you can kind of feel it. There are just
I mean, let's be
wi-
honest, right? Like
Mhm.
everyone kind of looked at Sony and it's like, why are you doing this anyways? Why are you trying to make a Marvel universe out of Spider-Man villains? What is your plan here?
But okay, I get that, and I know that technically from the very start, making a Venom movie without Spider-Man in it whatsoever
Listen,
is a
I'll
weird
I
idea,
had
is a
people tell me that
questionable idea.
too, and I argued like I think you can do that. Venom is a good enough character, I think, that you can make a universe to a degree centered around Venom.
Mm,
But
I
none of
told
the other films have connected to Venom though at all.
here. Well, here's the thing. Forget the other films for a second, okay? Like, forget Morbius, forget Madam Web, because let's be honest, most of the population forgot. And you can't
Mm.
even remember that Madam Web came out this year. Let's be honest.
Didn't Morbius also come out this year or was that last year?
No, that was 2 years ago, buddy.
I what? No. God.
It- like, like, point made. Honestly, check and mate
I'm not
on
sure
this
if that's
particular.
better or worse.
You decide. You decide. Up to interpretation.
Yeah.
But anyway, say what you will about and again, I do admit myself as a big Spider-Man fan, right? There
Mhm.
is there is this kind of an elephant in the room where what the hell are you doing trying to do a Venom movie without Spider-Man in it? Because Venom's entire backstory is connected to Spider-Man after all. And again, you can do that, and there are ways in which, and I would say that a lot of the way in which it's possible was done in those movies. Like, they did it, it's possible. My thing comes my problem with The Last Dance, though, is that okay, Venom 1, what was it about essentially? And out of that, down on his luck, ex-reporter who is facing hard times, and then he comes across this alien that bonds with him, and they try to take down this evil CEO guy and
Mhm.
the alien's boss. Okay, fair. Then what's the second one about? Now this reporter and this alien are living together, and sharing a body, and they are facing disagreements, and they need to learn how to coexist with each other, which goes as well as you planned. And that movie ends with them kind of realizing that one has to sacrifice for the other, and they find themselves on the run essentially.
Yeah, and that's
Now,
and like they
now
introduced
we have
Carnage in that one, like Red, the Red symbiote and everything, right?
yeah, which honestly, I will be honest, having seen this third one now, I think they threw Carnage away way too early. Like, I get why they did it. They kind of needed him there. But they killed him off in the second one way too quickly. Now that I'm looking at it in retrospect.
Yeah,
Okay,
a
but
little bit, yeah.
regardless, again, no spoilers. Now we get to. Oh, and by the way, Venom and Eddie just jumped into the MCU for like 5 seconds and then teleported away because yep, I really don't know. But
I mean,
regardless, not
supposedly that was only just to leave a bit of Venom, the
in the MCU,
in the
yeah,
MCU.
and we'll get to that. But so now Eddie and Venom are. This is not a spoiler thing. This is really literally the premise. Now Eddie and Venom are on the run from the authorities, and they decide to go to New York. And now basically, and somehow this gets the attention of Null. Now this is the point where I'm probably going to say, you know what? Before we keep going, probably a spoiler tag is better now.
Hmm.
So, for the record, I think this movie is a mess. It has some good moments in it. If you like the cheesy goofiness of the previous two movies, then you'll probably find something to enjoy here. But if you're looking for the if you're actually looking for a decent, for like a good conclusion that's going to wrap everything up, you're probably going to get it, but it's messy.
I would agree. It's a very messy film. Still some good like laughs to be had out of it. It got me to chuckle a couple times, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely a mess of a film. I'm not sure, like, as far as as far as you said, like a trilogy ender, this leaves quite a bit to be desired.
Hmm. Well, with that, so with all that being said, actually, before we go into spoilers, I do want to mention that this is the director of this movie. She wrote she wrote the previous two movies, and this not only did she write this one, but this is also her directorial debut. So I am not going to. I just want to say, for a first-time director, she was given one hell of a task, and I am not blaming her for anything that I'm about to say in this podcast. That
We'll have
sounds like
to
a criticism.
we'll have to see more films from her before we can really say what her
Yeah.
strengths or weaknesses are as of yet, right?
Mhm. No, because considering though that these Sony Spider-Man movies are so heavily, are obviously the byproduct of studio interference. I don't wish this upon any new first-time director.
Mm.
So all credit goes to her for even making this possible. I am not anything I say in this video. This is not aimed towards her. I'm sure she did the best with what she had. That being said,
Yeah.
spoilers for Venom: The Last Dance in three, two, one. Still here? Okay, so this is the best beginning to a movie ever. I am being cynical, if you can tell from my tone.
I mean, this wouldn't be. It needs some work, but it wouldn't be a half bad like new setup for a new like at least two movie thing for Venom, right? Using Noel, but as like the main villain in the next movie, but even then, like I said, it still needs some work for it to like
Uh,
feel
because
okay.
because
Feels like
again,
there'd be three movies really because you need to set up like I don't know, coming into this one from the second film, like why is the red symbiote helping Venom again? Or is Carnage and the red symbiote like there's questions I would have that I'm fairly sure Carnage and the red symbiote are not the same thing, right? But
no, because we see Carnage getting eaten by Venom in the last movie.
yeah,
So
so like but at the same time though, I feel like if you know very little about Venom and Spider-Man, you probably see the red symbiote in this film and you're like, "Oh, that's Carnage." Like, "No. No, it's not."
Uh, you say knowing a little about Spider-Man and Venom. Let me ask you something, buddy.
Mhm.
Do you know when Noel was first showed up?
No. I don't even know who that is. I didn't
Because
know
he
that
was
was a thing.
because because he was introduced in 2018. You know what else was 2018? The first Venom movie.
Oh. This feels very we need a Venom villain. This guy cuz he's new.
And here's the thing.
Hmm.
Here's the thing, though. There's there is there's definitely something that could be said about. Okay, you know what? In the first movie, we established that Venom is an outcast alien, right? We established that. It makes sense to go in the direction of, you know what? What if one day his kind actually finds out that he rebelled, and they're coming after him. I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with this idea. Or even using null, even though he's recent, right?
Hmm.
I don't really mind that. What I do mind is that they are in both the beginning and the end. They are kind of setting him up to be the Thanos of this thing,
Seems like,
and like
yeah.
and like, who the fuck even is this?
Yeah, because like we've just got introduced to him. Like this is our first entrance in meeting with Noel and like one, he does nothing the entire film other than sit in one place because he's trapped there and like have a creepy voice, and that's it, right? And
and
then he
again,
sends like some other creatures after Venom and the other symbiotes, and they're the big bad of this film, really.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Again, to not say that, obviously they had to build up to Thanos with the MCU, right? But at the very least, the villains that they faced, be it Loki or Ronan in Guardians of the Galaxy or Enter other, they were full fledged villains.
Well, there's
You know
also
what I
like
mean?
there's
They
also
were
that
actual.
small
This
connection back to Thanos at some point as well that you did
Yeah.
get to see as
That's
well.
what I'm saying. They were his lackeys at the end of the day, but they were still threats on their own. This one, it honestly feels like the main villain of this movie is a mini boss.
Yeah, he doesn't feel like the main villain at all. And again, like I get it, you have to do setup, right? But it's like I don't think this was good setup because we have
This
the
is
other
not
two
a good
previous
setup.
films with nothing connecting him whatsoever. He feels very much thrown into this film at the very end.
And and again, I did mention that we do know that that Venom's kind planned an invasion on Earth, but at this point, I can also say what stops me as an audience member, be it a Spider-Man fan or not, to just believe that Riot was the one constructing that, not Null.
Hmm. Who's Riot?
The symbiote guy from the first movie.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay.
So in that sense, and again, I understand they couldn't have had Noel planned from the very beginning of this because Noel was only created the same year that the first movie came out.
I did not know that part,
Obviously,
by the way, which is
yeah.
wild.
I found out via research because I remember hearing Noel's name, but I didn't remember necessarily what the context is. I'm like, really? He was only introduced in the comics in 2018. Huh,
That
okay.
definitely feels like a shoved in at the last moment thing. I'm gonna be honest. What I would have done personally, if you want to use Null that damn badly, just use the other creatures, like have them appear, and then
Mhm.
maybe at the end, like you get like a thing with Null very close to the end, like a very quick flash or showing or something, and that's it.
And it does remind me, I
And
need to
then go
look
into
up
a
the
fourth
name.
film,
I
right?
do need to go to look the name of this guy up just for the sake of a comparison. Let me see here if I can. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, so I think right there was a Spider-Man villain called Morlan, right? Basically is kind of related to the fact that the spider that beat Peter Parker has a bit more of a story to it. And
Mm-hmm.
Morlan is essentially after all the spiders in every universe that were bitten by that spider to some degree. If I remember correctly, it's been a while.
Mm-hmm.
So so, like, you know what? If you're hell bent on doing this universe where all the Spider-Man characters exist besides Spider-Man, you could have totally made him Morlan. There's literally no difference.
I mean, it also just feels weird, right? Because like you're introducing what feels like such a big, supposedly big villain for Venom in what seems like a final act movie
Yeah,
as
and
well.
that's the thing. I get it that trilogies are the big thing now. Obviously, you kind of want the story to end on a trilogy, but nothing again besides knowing that Venom is from space and a rebelled against his kind. There's nothing that really builds up to it, like ever.
Mm-mm. It just feels, yeah, it definitely feels like all over the place. It definitely feels like this is a supposedly supposed to be like a final send off to Venom trilogy. You know, this marks off the trilogy. We're done with Venom for a while, or maybe for for a good long while, right? But it also feels like we're setting up a new villain films to come in the very near future with this new big bad.
Mhm.
But it also feels like,
Because again, this universe doesn't really know what to do with itself, and Venom is the only thing that really brings any money from this universe. And who knows how Craven is gonna turn out? Let's talk to us in like a month or something.
I
Sonic 3 is
saw
most
I
likely
saw
Sonic 3 is most likely going to beat it in the box office, but you know what? We shall see. Mm.
I saw, an ad for Craven and before, Venom aired, and I was like, that's interesting. Maybe? Eh, eh.
Uh, we'll
I just
see.
I feel like they just had no plan going into this, and they just wanted to make a bunch of films using the Spider-Man, villains because, like, one, Sony doesn't want to lose the Spider-Man license or anything like that, right?
Hmm.
But I feel like you're just I'm gonna be honest. I feel like Sony's shooting Disney and Marvel in the foot a little bit by making a bunch of shit
Forget,
superhero films or
no, but like
supervillain films
forget shooting them in the foot. It's most, but again, the
while shooting
main
themselves in the
problem.
foot too.
And like the main thing here that's the problem at the end of the day is that you have these characters which are connected to Spider-Man, and besides Venom that has some sort of a cult following to him, who knew about Morbius before the movie besides diehard Spider-Man fans?
I think he was in one of the shows way back when,
He
wasn't he?
was. He was in the 90s. He was in
Yeah,
the 90s animated cartoon.
I
Yeah,
remember him
but
from
then
that. That's about it.
yeah, and also I know Madam Web from there. I know
Yeah.
Madam Web from like from some of the comics. She was in one of the video games, but having seen Madam Web
I
with
didn't see that one.
our good friend Audrey, our live reaction to it is on our Patreon. And if you want
Oh
to
boy.
hear me actually, if you want to hear me actually lose my shit for like 3 minutes straight, you are. This might be worth the price of admission for you. I recommend it. But anyway,
Hmm.
um, but regardless of that, the Madam Web in the movie is nothing like the Madam Web from the comics. I can't really tell you much about the Mobius, but who cares at the end of the day? But you know, the one character that's supposed to connect all of these things together is just not there. Be it because of the deal, of the deal with Marvel to allow Spidey into the MCU, I am not sure. But we need the Spider-Man here at the end of the day because that's the thing that really connects it all together, and every other attempt to connect it together just fails.
I stand by it, right? I think if you would have planned from the outset of, okay, we're going to make all these films and we're going to make it all centered around the idea of Venom and we're going to connect everything to Venom and make Venom
Hmm.
the quote unquote Spider-Man of this universe, right?
You
You
know,
could
to
have run
quote
with that, I
something,
think. I think
to
you could have
run
done that.
yeah, like, but something to use a phrase from Deadpool and Wolverine, make Venom the anchor character here. You could have totally done that.
Yeah, I think you could have. I think you could have made that work. It would have been different. It wouldn't have been like the Spider-Man universe, but that's fine. I don't need it to be the Spider-Man universe. I just need it to be a good set of films that actually work and make sense together. None of these do.
Mhm.
There's no connection whatsoever because there's no plan whatsoever.
Mhm. So all of this is just from the first minute or so of film. So let's actually get
I
back to
barely
this.
talked to the. That says quite
So
a bit.
yeah, so Eddie and Venom come back to their own universe after getting drunk in the MCU for a bit, and
Mhm.
if it sounds like I'm half-assing it, the movie does it. The movie does it too. They spend less time on it in the movie than I just did explaining it. Trust me. So they come back to their own universe and they said, you know what? We are fugitives. We need to go to New York because Venom wants to see Lady Liberty.
I'll
Who
give them
doesn't?
credit. The bar scene was a little bit funny with them making the drink and everything. That wasn't a half bad opening.
Yeah.
It was good.
And
It's
and
fun.
again, and
It's
then
enjoyable.
there's also the scene where they save the dogs from these criminals. That's again kind of like the stuff that I kind of enjoy in these movies. Just Tom
Mhm.
Hardy interacting with Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
That's all great stuff. That's pretty good. So you know what? Let's just quickly just run through the Eddie Venom parts first, because oh boy, I have stuff to say about the other part. So on the way there, while they are storing on a plane, a creature attacks Venom and Eddie. Venom seems to know what it is and is terrified of it. Eddie has no idea what's going on. And it's then when Venom tells Eddie that now he has something called what was it called?
Oh, the Codex.
The Codex, yes. They are now something that's called the Codex. What is the This is actually something that I found kind of interesting. That in the first movie, Eddie does technically die, and thanks to Venom healing the wound, he prevents him from dying.
Yeah, a nice
So
callback, a good little setup that
yeah,
works.
so that's actually a good little setup because again, there's always this thing, with storytelling of, oh, the third part of a trilogy always gonna connect to something in the first one. That's a pretty, so you know what? That's an interesting idea to actually tie it into the story. So now we have this thing that Venom can't be fully out. Like he can just be the head out. He can do some to just like yeah, throw tentacles out of Eddie and everything, but he can't be fully out. Otherwise, this xenophage, what is it? Xenophage?
Xenophage.
Xenophage, yes. The xenophage will be able to track them down. Okay, nice. I mean, you know what? The one thing that always seems to be consistently enjoyable in these movies is Eddie and Venom, and just Tom Hardy essentially flirting with himself. So, putting them on the road and just trying to have them get from point A to point B, that's pretty fun. I am cool with this on paper. And then they just throw this fucking curveball at us that apparently the entire trilogy has been taking place during the span of a year.
Hmm.
A whole year.
That didn't bother me too much. I kind of like, I don't know that I heard them say it and it just kind of like, okay, yeah, and then just kept on going. I'll
And that's the
admit.
thing. They just to be fair, they do just kind of keep it going. But hearing this, I'm like, nah, you can't tell me that this entire trilogy took place over the course of a year.
Like
You
thinking
can't.
about it, I guess yeah, that is a little bit far fetched.
And forget far-fetched, if you want the ending to hit as much as it does, and obviously they do, no way it took place over the course of a year.
Fair, very
I
fair.
just I can't. You basically shut the emotional core of the ending in the foot by saying, oh, it's only been a year. But whatever, moving on. So Eddie and Venom come across this family, and
No,
the
no, no, no. You forgot the horse scene.
oh yeah, of course there's that. I will say this is actually a pretty cool thing that Venom can take
But
over certain animals.
it's
The
also
horse is
weird
really.
though because I thought we said Venom couldn't come out fully. Like, how does that work
Well,
here?
so that's the thing. I think it's more that he can't be fully out as himself. Like, but if he's taking over a horse, it's technically not out.
I don't know. There's a lot of things here that are not very well
Mm,
explained power wise
Yeah,
at the moment
yeah,
that we
that's
all of a
true.
sudden have to consider, and it's like, but wait, was my question.
Yeah, so I also, but I guess the idea is that as long as he's not like, on his feet and has arms and everything, that technically counts as not being all out because
He
you can also
technically
see him
only
taking over a
finished the
frog.
horse.
Because there's this action sequence in the water where Eddie tells him you can't do that, and he goes, "This is the only chance." He takes over a few animals in that scene, like the frog. But then only when he's fully consuming Eddie, that's the point when the xenophage is actually showing up.
Which is
So.
fine. It makes sense for how they do it, but it just feels weird, right? To have this, okay, I can't be fully out. I can only do these things, but then I can fully take over animals as well. So that's fine. It's like,
Mhm.
what is the line here? Nothing has been very well
Well, to be honest,
established.
I guess you know what, jumping the gun a bit, there is absolutely zero reason he would dance with Mrs. Chan when he knows that they are in danger.
That one
That's
also, like, that was a whole thing too. It's like, didn't you just say you were the one? Like, I get it. They've always played Venom off as this like don't give a fuck kind of character, right?
But
But
this is
he
a
was
bit
the one who
important.
was afraid and said this was really important and told Eddie this was really important. And then he's like, no, no, not as important as this dance. And it's like, what?
Hmm.
Why?
Don't get me wrong, I love Mrs. Chen. I'm glad that if there's any character that came back from the previous movies, I'm glad that it's her.
This
But
definitely felt like oh, we want this character back. Let's give her a moment that
mhm,
does nothing for the rest of the movie whatsoever. It's just
yep.
they're dancing. Woo.
Mhm.
Honestly,
So,
gonna say the hippie family was way more enjoyable.
and this is the point where I'm getting to the hippie family. You know who plays the dad?
I thought he looked familiar, but I don't remember.
Ray Ziffens. If you don't know
Oh
who that is,
yeah.
he played the Lizard in Amazing Spider-Man 1 and
Hmm.
Spider-Man No Way Home. The reason I bring this up is because fuckers know exactly who you cast. Like, you know that they only cast him because they needed, because they freaking needed people to talk about what is he doing in this movie.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, to be honest, the hippie family was kind of fun. Actually, fun thing, there is a rumor going around that the kid they're bonding with was supposed to be a 10 years old Peter Parker, but they cut the idea.
And that was supposed to be his Uncle Ben and Aunt May,
No, that's
or
the
his
thing because
parents.
because Uncle Bay and Aunt May are actually established in Madam Web.
Oh, they are.
Yeah. Actually, Madam Web actually ends with Peter Parker being born. I am not joking.
I'm glad I missed this movie.
Yeah, yeah, but you should be. You should be. So,
I just so many questions. Again, this
mm,
comes back to why wasn't this entire thing better thought out? Why? You could have centered
mhm,
all this around Venom, and I feel like would have taken more work, but it would have been way better.
yeah. Well, regardless of that, the hippie family is fun though. I'm not gonna
Arguably, one
sit
of the
there
better
and.
things about this film.
Hmm. So before we move on with the rest of the movie, let's talk about the second movie that's attached to it, Area 51, the movie. Can someone explain to me why there's a whole fucking setup about Area 51 in Venom: The Last Dance?
Because Area 51 is the alien place in the USHC. It's for all
I
the
know that.
aliens.
I know that, but who the fuck? And like, besides one line of Eddie telling it to Venom in the second movie, who the fuck knows that Area 51 is even a part of this universe?
Well, I mean, I guess it's assumed that like this is set within modern day US and stuff like that, right? So it's like they would have an
Yeah.
Area 51, but it is weird, right? That
It,
like
but now we are actually having like characters in there. They are apparently studying symbiotes. And they keep Mulligan from the second movie there, who now has a symbiote thanks to the events in Leatherby Carnage. So, and to be honest, it's not necessarily again, it's not necessarily a bad idea. It's just a lot to throw in one movie, and a movie that's only lasting like an hour and a half. So,
they introduce all the
you
other
only
symbiotes here. They have a bunch of them.
and that's the thing. They set up this like backstory for one of the scientists, like why she's walking there because she lost her
That
brother
also,
or
like,
so.
what was the point of that shit?
I tell you exactly. I know exactly what the point of that shit was because they needed to establish these characters in some way so that when the symbiotes take him over in the climax, it's not just a bunch of fan service. We technically established who these people are.
But you didn't. But most of them were fans. You didn't establish
I
who.
know, I know, it's so dumb.
She's the only one who has you literally gave us her backstory so you could give her the lightning symbiote. That was it.
Yeah.
The Christmas girl, why did she become the symbiote she became? Was it because she likes Christmas? Was that it? Like you kept
let's say
Like, it
that
was weird, right, that they kept focusing on, like, the Christmas tree pin that she kept wearing. It's like, "Why are you doing that? It's July. You should." It it was weird, right? It wasn't just me who saw, like, "What is this?" Like, when we first get introduced to, like, I forget her name. I don't even know if they give her a name in the film. Let me see real quick.
mm, who are we talking about, or which
Yeah.
scientists?
Clark, Sadie Christmas is apparently her name. Didn't even
Uh-huh.
fucking realize. Why is her last name Christmas, number 1?
Yeah, so what about her?
Like, d the when she's introduced, right, like, it's weird dialogue, right, when you have, like, the general guy point at her and say, "Why are you wearing that pin? It's July," and her saying, like, "It's my mom." Like, that's a weird bit of dialogue, right?
Yeah,
For people who've
that's like
supposedly been working together for a long time now, and it's like,
mhm.
you're just now saying it feels weird.
Like again, it's supposed to be lol quirky, but it's like it's not like I get what, but again, because they need to kind of establish these characters quickly because you don't have time. And you don't have time because you need to focus on Eddie and Venom, but at the same time, you never really establish these people, and you don't want the climax to just be a CGI cameo fest, which I get, but this is like a very artificial way of doing that.
Yeah, it doesn't work at all.
So I just once the Area 51, so basically the Area 51 movie is essentially exposition. Everything that they talk about is just full-on exposition to establish what Null is and why is he coming to Earth.
Yeah,
So with
and
that said, moving on with the movie. So the hippie family that Eddie catches a ride with is trying to infiltrate Area 51. Why? Because there are a bunch of hippies. I really don't fucking know.
because the dad is going through a midlife crisis and wants to see an alien.
Mhm.
That's pretty
So
much what
there's
this is.
yeah. So then they drop Eddie at Vegas of all places, and there they decide to gamble because Venom needs money, because of course he does. There they meet Mrs. Chen, and despite knowing how dangerous it is, Venom insists on dancing with Mrs. Chen, which, by the way, this is one of the only times in the movie where we actually see Venom in full. And I didn't expect, and like it's funny, it's entertaining, but I also didn't expect that at all. Like, if you were to tell me that I would see Venom dancing to "Time of My Life," I would be like, "Oh, sure, okay, whatever you say."
With old Asian lady who from other films. It's also just
Yeah.
weird, right? Because it's like it serves zero purpose. It literally is just lol so random.
hmm And again, I wouldn't mind that they're also random if there wasn't an established excuse to why Venom shouldn't be out in full. Like if let's say they thought that they destroyed the Xenofuge at an earlier fight scene, I could have gotten it. And then it's like, oh shit, it's actually not dead. But Venom knows fully well that it's alive. So what are you doing? You're also putting Mrs. Chen in risk here.
It's
And by the way,
also
and also Mrs. Chen disappears for the rest of the movie. We never see her again.
literally here for this dance and that is it.
Yeah.
And like you can argue, right? Like, oh, it's Venom, he just doesn't care. That's his whole shtick. But it's like
I don't
he's
know.
the
He
one who
seemed
made
to
a
care.
big deal about it. He's the one who
There
made it
you
seem so
go.
important.
There you go. That's the thing, that if he's the one that haven't made a big deal out of it, when they first encounter the thing and after they escape from it, you can see that he's legit scared of this thing. So,
I feel like it would have
he,
been way better if Venom had no fucking clue what the xenophage was or any idea about Null. That
yeah,
we
like if it
learned it
was
from the other symbiote, right? That's what we
yeah,
learned.
if it was like a revelation at the end or something.
Yeah. Like when he meets back up with what is his name? Mulligan. When he meets back
I
up
mean,
with
with
him,
Mulligan, yeah.
that's when
Like
he and Venom
literally
learn,
the next scene.
oh, like when they meet back up with Mulligan and the other symbiotes, that's when Venom learns, oh, I was doing a dumb. Okay.
Mhm.
I think that'd be way
And
better because it would just explain so much more so better in why Venom does the stupid shit that he does.
yep. And then the other thing, so they get into Area 51, they explain to Eddie everything, and then so then the Xenophage finds them, and Mulligan sacrifices himself to save Eddie and Venom,
Well, not so
and
much Mulligan, the other symbiote, really. I don't think
yeah,
Mulligan had any
well,
choice in that.
the symbiote is not named, so I don't fucking
You
care.
fair. I'm sure
So,
it's I'm sure it's one of the symbiote because there's a bunch of different symbiotes in there. Like,
To be honest, they don't name the symbiote, and from what I could tell, it's made up for the movie. Looks kind
ah,
of cool, honestly.
yeah,
I
there's
like
some.
the
I
idea.
will say they have some neat designs for some of the symbiotes,
Mm-hmm.
especially the one that took over Mulligan. That was neat.
Yeah. Yeah, because there were theories after Carnage that it was going to be a specific symbiote character. But you know
Mm.
what? I'll give them credit where it's due. That design is actually kind of cool.
No, that was neat. I like that one, especially when they did the shot of him like first fully becoming the symbiote and crawling around the room and everything. That looked good. That was really well done. I felt
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
didn't
Where
mean nothing, but
with that being said, now we get into the climax, and Venom does basically fuck all in this climax. Like,
I was gonna point out, right? I was waiting for this moment. He's basically just standing around watching. Eddie and Venom are like, this is not their climax. This is the climax of the symbiotes and the military. Let's be honest.
and again, I wouldn't have a problem with this if the movie wasn't called Venom: The Last Dance. This is Venom's movie. If you want to make a symbiote movie, fucking do it.
This is why we say
But
this movie's a mess, and it feels like it's a trilogy ending for Venom, a
yeah, like
starting of a new
imagine,
trilogy or something for Venom, a
yeah,
symbiote
like
film,
yeah,
a
but
road
and it's
trip
like,
film.
and because you know what? Imagine if they made a Spider-Man movie and during the climax, Spider-Man did nothing. Spider-Man would just watch, and the Avengers would come in to help.
Wild. People would be
That's
fuming.
I can tell you for myself that I would be freaking furious.
Absolutely. 100% justified too, because it's like we came here for Spider-Man and we're watching the other Avengers do all of the work. Cool.
Yeah, so again, basically now we have
Or
this thing
it's
where
even worse
this is
than that.
Venom.
We're watching nobodies do all of the work. We don't even know who these people
Yeah,
are and they're
because
doing all the work,
like again, I can tell you that it's like a fan service to see all of those symbiotes work together, CGI fast.
which is
I
fine, but
I am not even sure who half of these symbiotes are supposed to be, if they are OCs or if they are from the comic. Like, I think I saw Shriek, Scream. I think I saw one of them is supposed to be Scream, but I am not sure. I am honestly not sure.
like it's one of those like this is cool, but this should have been in the background while Venom did most of the fighting. But
Yeah,
also at
and
the end of
like
the day, we're
I
fighting these xenophages that just don't feel like a big bad at all. A
again
good
they
one
feel
either.
like they feel like mini bosses.
Yeah, this feels like we were getting to the end of the film right, and it felt like, all right, this feels like the second half, right?
Mhm. Yeah. You're correct.
And
Hello?
no, you're fine.
Okay.
Sorry, sorry, the thing came up. It feels like this is the second half, and it's like, all right, we've done this now. Let's go after Noel. Oh wait, movie's over.
Mhm.
Okay, cool.
So again, you have all the, and again, there are some cool scenes, like where like how two symbiotes actually fuse together, and they're like with two heads and everything, and that's kind of cool. They do some cool stuff, but again, I'm here for Venom. Venom does nothing until the very end,
Yep.
and I'm supposed to feel something, supposedly, right? I am supposed to feel something, seeing all this happen, and it's like, I don't care about any of these symbiotes. I don't. I want to see Venom do stuff, right? And nope. And then
You
comes
got to
like,
watch him ride a bike around, which is really cool.
and I get it. It's something that they do together, but it's like, and then the kind
Shrug.
of but then again, the kind of ultimate fuck you to some degree to the audience is the point where suddenly, Eddie and Venom Eddie's like beaten up in the helicopter, and he tells Venom, "I'm sorry, we couldn't be the little protector." And he's like, "We were, Eddie, we were." And it's like, okay, and you kind of know where this is going, right?
Yeah.
You kind of know where this is going, and so they walk out and they become full, and Venom goes all out, and then all the xenophages are getting inside him or something, and it's this big thing that Venom sacrifices himself, and he saves Eddie, and
And the
Eddie's like,
military
no.
guy sacrifices himself too.
he, oh yeah, I forgot about that guy.
He blows
Honestly, I
himself
forgot
up
he
to
was.
help out because he was gonna die anyways.
Uh, and then again, there's this whole other thing that, there's supposed to be this really touching scene of Eddie and Venom saying goodbye to each other. And like, to some extent, I feel it. But at the other end, I'm saying, what? How did we get here? There are like two more movies that need to happen before we even get here.
We have Lightning Lady becomes a symbiote too, which is kind of overshadows the moment a little bit. It definitely. Ugh. I'll give them credit, I guess. I don't know if this is a good thing or bad thing. They never show Venom again, even in like the after credits and like the scene,
Well,
the
you
like
see,
the scenes that
eh,
like the before
we
credits and
will
after
talk
credits
about
stuff.
it. We'll talk about it, but we do see like the cockroach with the symbiote. So
Oh,
that,
I did not notice. Like I saw the cockroach, but I didn't see the symbiote part of it. So never mind. I
yeah,
missed
the
that part.
cockroach. Look back, the cockroach is black.
Uh the film might have just been too dark. I did not
So, but
notice that bit.
and but that's kind of what pisses me off, because that scene is actually supposed to be emotional. This is supposed to be like your end, and I feel like, how did we get here? And also, this is why I brought up the idea that this trilogy apparently takes place over the course of a year. I am not feeling it. Like, if I lost a friend that I knew for a year, then like, yeah, I would be devastated, right? It would be
Mhm.
sad and everything, but it won't be like it. It's because they play it up like it's this big thing, and like, we're not there. We
Yeah,
are just not there.
the stakes aren't there. The connection isn't there. It doesn't like it doesn't it's not the same as like it doesn't carry the same emotional weight as seeing like Peter Parker disintegrate into nothing, right?
Yeah, definitely. Oh, you know something? If you want to talk about a movie that we covered a few weeks ago, The Wild
Mm,
Robot absolutely destroys me, right?
mm,
This movie destroyed me emotion-wise. And that's like the first time I'm seeing these characters.
yeah. I think maybe they could have
You
helped
know
if
what? And you know something? And if we're on the topic of DreamWorks Animation, and also another guy who bonds with a black creature, How to Train Your Dragon.
mm, another good one, another good example.
Yeah.
I think
Like
the issue
again.
right here is I feel like some of the issue comes down to one, Venom doesn't really do much. Two,
Hmm.
it's also an issue of right, like sorry, I had to cough.
Sure.
I think it's an issue also of like some of this feels like it's Venom's fault because it's like why was he doing the shit he was doing to begin with when he knew
Again,
he
I
shouldn't have been
bring this
doing
up
it?
again. If he didn't dance with Mrs. Chen, none of this would have happened.
True. Like so it kind of feels like I think the moment would have been better served if Venom just had no clue about the xenophages, no clue about Null, right? Then you can at least kind of come at it with this feeling of okay, this is him making up for the shit that he did right when he didn't know, right? And that way it feels a little bit more impactful, you know, because Venom just didn't know any better beforehand. Now he does. Now he's trying to make up for it, right?
Hmm.
And that's his sacrifice to Eddie to make up to Eddie, right, for all the shit that he did when he didn't know, and he shouldn't have been doing it, right?
Yep.
Still doesn't make it
And
as good, but
no, but it's like it would have been something. It would, and I feel bad because I see what they were trying to do here, but it fails on so many levels.
again, I keep coming back to that. This just feels like multiple movies slapped together,
Yep.
and like there was just no thought in how to structure any of that and make that work together. And honestly, you just can't. Like
Hmm.
Noel feels like the way they want him to be. He feels like a villain that we should have been seeing bits and pieces of in the past two movies, which that was never going to happen.
Yeah.
And two,
And,
it we needed more with. I don't know how you would. I don't know. Like we needed more with Eddie and Venom and like stuff going on here as well to make
hmm.
this moment feel impactful. Also,
Yeah.
it's also the way you've played Venom's character up to this point. I don't
Hmm.
know if his character works for the noble sacrifice, right?
Yeah. Like, in a way, something you say that, but he kind of technically does it in the first film, but he survives that.
True. And that also might take away from it as well. I don't know. Looking at another kind of irreverent character who's become a bit of a darling, right? Deadpool. I can see
Hmm.
Deadpool doing the noble sacrifice bit, right? And it working
Yeah.
there. I can't
Mhm.
for Venom. It just, at least for this, film of Venom, it doesn't hit. It doesn't work at all.
It doesn't. It again. It comes out of nowhere. It feels like really we're here. This is okay. Sure, if you say so. I am done asking questions at this point.
Yeah.
And again, to bring up what I said earlier, the first movie was essentially about the two of them bonding over, after Eddie loses everything he had, and Venom just kind of comes up. At the right time, and he bonds with Eddie because Eddie is a good match for him to, carry out the invasion on Earth. And then he grows fond of Eddie, and they decide to save the day. Then the second movie is essentially about them not getting along after a lot of time of trying to manage each other, and they have a fight, and then they decide they're better together than apart.
Hmm.
Okay, sure. And now this movie is essentially about them trying to escape and near that's about them trying to escape the creator of all symbiotes all of the sudden, and Venom needs to sacrifice himself in order for Eddie to live. And it's like, wait, when did we get here?
But
How
it's
did we get
also,
here?
but it also is like this is a road trip film to New York, but
Mm-hmm.
also, yeah, there's no through line, right? And that's the problem. There's no through line
Mm-hmm.
from film to film to
Like
film. Like you can see the
the
through
not
line from the first two films at the very least.
and again, I hate to beat up a dead horse, but remember when they were in the MCU? The fuck happened to that? The fuck happened to Venom seeing Spider-Man on the TV going that guy, and he never gets to that guy
I'm
ever.
I'm willing to just like let that go as a whatever at this point. It doesn't matter.
I would be able to let it go if the movie didn't literally start with them being teleported
I
back.
know, but I'm just willing to be like whatever at this point. I don't care. Maybe
Mhm.
we'll get Venom in the Marvel in the MCU at some point, and it'll be better.
Well, because again, we did kind of talk about this, that, there is a piece of Venom left in the MCU, and they are talking about Spider-Man, the next Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland is moving forward, so maybe there's going to be some connection there.
Didn't
Who
Tom
knows?
Holland say he wanted to be done soon? Right? Like
He said at some point that he doesn't want to keep playing Spider-Man until he's 30, but apparently he's a big fan of what they came up with for Spider-Man 4. So he's probably willing to do that at the very least.
Hmm. Well, I know he also said he would love to do like the him handing it over to Miles Morales sort of thing, right? As well.
Yeah, so like this is just a guessing on my end, but I think after Spider-Man 4, they'll probably do one more movie to kind of introduce Miles, and that's when Peter gives out the mantle. Not
Or they'll
necessarily
be
kill him,
introducing
but
Miles in this one and then handing over the reins to him in like
yeah.
the next film, right?
Because let's be honest, they can't do Miles until Beyond the Spider-Verse comes out, and who the hell knows when that's gonna happen at this point. So,
Mm.
so but putting this aside, back to Venom.
Why hasn't
So,
Sony done anything with Miles for this universe either, right? Like they own
well,
that character. I
yeah,
get they have
that's
I mean, I guess they don't want to like screw it, right? Because they have like such an amazing setup with the animated films. And it's like,
which actually funny. You remember what's the post-credit scene for the first Venom movie, right? In another universe, and there's a sneak peek to Into the Spider-Verse because they came out the same year.
mm,
But now that you mention it, yeah, like I'm not sure. The reason I'm saying this is because I maybe they don't want to have to confuse people with the fact that there's an animated Miles, and that's their way to differentiate the animated Spider-Man is Miles Morales, the live action is Peter Parker. Maybe that's what's going on. But you know what? That's a good point. You don't want to do Peter Parker, do Miles.
yeah, like why
He's
wasn't
right
this
there.
just the Miles Morales universe? Then you can use Venom and you have like Craven and fucking Miss
And like
Webb or whatever.
Madam Web,
Madam Web,
Miss Web,
whatever. I don't care enough anymore. It was a
Miss
shit film.
Web.
Ugh. Like, why not just use Miles? Like, there's your
Why is
care. Like,
it? I'm sorry that
no,
got
you're
me good.
fine.
I'm
You're good.
sorry. Miss Web.
Fair. It's just like,
Okay,
why didn't we use Miles though? Right? Like,
and
I still stand by.
it.
You could have used Venom as your quote unquote anchor character for this universe. You didn't do that, but then again, you have Miles. Like, what?
Mhm,
What are you doing?
yeah. Honestly, I'm not sure how much of a popular take this is, but they should have just made that the Andrew Garfield universe.
Mm, would have also been acceptable and good.
Hmm. Because goddamn it, he needs to fight an alien. God damn it, let Andrew Garfield fight an alien. But okay. So anyway, back to the actual movie here. We tangented so hard on that fucking ending, which shows how much of an emotional impact it leaves on you.
it,
That we
it
tangented into other things about this fucking franchise. But
and
okay,
it also
uh,
shows just how disconnected from everything it is. It
yeah.
just doesn't feel like it matters.
Hmm. So anyway, Venom dies. And
Woo.
then and then I was actually laughing so hard at what comes after because Eddie is unconscious and then he wakes up in a hospital and there's this general that's like, you know what, you are a criminal, but everything you did with Venom in Area 51, you are being pardoned. Just don't talk about this ever again. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, and the general just
Like
leaves.
like that is like if you want to see how much like if there's a point in the movie that like I would point out to, I am betting you any amount of money that you want that this was rewritten and re-edited and reshot, like that this was mangled in post production. This is the point where the general comes in,
Mm.
spews out all of this exposition and goes away.
It's so weird. Again, it's just so weird.
And then we get this scene of Eddie walking around New York, and you are having flashbacks to the previous movies. And I'm like, again, and again, I mentioned How to Train Your Dragon before, but they did it too technically in the third one. That after it ended, you see the clips from previous movies in the credits, and it's like there it feels earned. Here it's like, is this what you're trying to do? And they have this fucking breakup song playing in the back, and it's like,
Yep.
what is this?
Yep.
What is this movie?
It's dumb as fuck. Which
And
honestly makes it kind of funny.
Again, it's obviously a guilty pleasure to some degree, but
I do wonder, right?
I just want to say, I again to at that point where Eddie's looking at the Statue of Liberty and going, "I'll never forget you, buddy." And this is the point where I realize Eddie only refers to Venom by name once in the entire trilogy, and that's at the end of the first movie.
You're right. Holy. What? That's so
He
bad. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter. You don't need to refer to him by name, but at the
Yeah,
same
but
time,
no, but like you know something. Here's the thing: Eddie only refers to Venom by name once in the entire thing. Not even in the third person. He only refers to Venom by name once. Now take it. Don't take it. Don't play a drinking game anytime that Venom says Eddie's name because you will
oh,
die.
you'll die. You'll die in this film alone.
Yeah.
You wouldn't make it to like if you did it in the first film, you would die. You would make it to the second or third.
Maybe you make it to the end, to the middle of Carnage, but no, after the no middle of Carnage, you're done.
Yeah.
so, so this is the point where I realized that, and I'm like, you're trying to make me feel bad for for a person losing another person who he barely even refers to by name.
I mean, at least have him say the name in this at the very end in this one. But you're right, he
Yeah,
does
like
say buddy.
yeah, it's like it's. Oh my god, this movie. I remember when it ended, I just felt, well, that was something. I totally just witnessed the third in a trilogy.
But hey, we sat there for the credits. We sat there through all of them. And we got the after credits scene.
So wait, first of all, there's the mid-credit scene, or
True, the
that
mid credits scene.
now that Venom is dead, Null can go into can conquer the universe because Venom is no longer there.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
It feels like they did
well,
a thing of he's talking directly to the audience because you lost your
yeah.
protector sort of
Yeah,
thing.
he literally looks at the camera when he says that.
Yeah,
It's like
it's really
it's
like
like, "Hey, remember me? I'm coming.
I
I'm gonna get your nose.
I
Get
think
your nose."
it was really dumb. But I did remember like it's like, are you doing a thing of him talking? I just remember sitting there. It's like, you're doing a thing of him talking to the camera. I don't
Yeah.
get this, but this is. I kind of love it
Mm,
still.
yeah. Like, I can just imagine the best plot twist ever would be that you see that he's actually on a Skype call with Amy Pascal and Avi Arad and all the people, all the producers of this franchise, and they're like, "Yeah, yeah, buddy, we got you. Here's the contract already." and and then and then not only, but then I'm also thinking, okay, this is our Thanos, right? Supposedly, okay. You with me?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Right now, if when with Venom dead, we basically have Jared Leto with vampire powers and a blind lady with a few spider girls, I suppose, as the main people who are going to take him down.
And then we have
Mm.
Craven.
And then Craven. I get, to be honest, is it bad that I put my money on Craven to actually finish the fucker off than the other two?
He's probably got a better chance. Let's be honest.
Yeah. So like, forget the fact that he's just talking to the camera like, I'm coming,
No,
ooh,
no,
I'm
no. I
here.
take that
Yeah.
back. I put my money on Morb. You know, give Jared Leto the chance to Morb up, and he'll win.
Mob, you know what? I'm kind of proud of you that you didn't go for the mobbing time.
I mean,
I
it was there. I uh, listen. The meme is more powerful.
Yeah, the meme is more. Have you heard that people were actually memeing this movie so hard that Sony actually re-released
Oh, I'm
Morbius in
aware.
theaters?
I'm aware.
Because because they thought that people legit love it, and then when it bombed again, people were actually telling them, "We were just busy this weekend. This time we'll go. We swear."
That's hilarious. If they did it a third time,
Oh my
Sony,
god.
please.
No, they won't. I think they know by this point, and
No, but
like,
like I wish they would have though. I wish they would have done it a
oh
third
god,
time.
can you imagine? Can you imagine if they do like what Marvel does with the MCU, that they just have screenings of like all the movies up until the recent one? If they have like Venom, Let There Be Carnage, Morbius, Madam Web, The Last Dance,
No, but just
Craven,
just
and whatever comes
imagine
up.
though, like again, because I remember that too, right? Like everyone memed it so much. They're like, "Oh, it's actually popular. We'll release it again. All right." Oh, it did even worse this time. And then
Yeah.
people like just jokingly, "No, no, we were busy. We'll go this time. We promise." And they do it a third time, and people still don't go.
Oh my god. They didn't
That
do it
would
a
have
third
been
time, but
su-
it would have
that
been
would have been
hilarious.
such like God. As a company, I think you have to end at that point as a company because you can't get clowned on that hard as a company. You can't.
Mhm.
You can't allow that
Yeah.
as a company. Once you get clowned on
Oh,
that hard, you're done.
then again, you clown yourself pretty hard by starting up Madam Web with a big 100 years of Columbia Pictures. So
Yeah. I listen. I Sony's going through it right now. Okay,
yeah, they do. They are poor bastards. But
some
okay,
of it deserved. Let's be
it's-
honest. It's
yeah.
their own fault, but still,
So so Noel promises the audience that he's coming. So I guess Noel is, something,
he's gonna get our noses. Yeah.
another great plot twist. Imagine if Noel is actually Deadpool because he's talking to the audience like Deadpool does.
Don't
Maybe
don't
that's the twist.
don't put that on Deadpool. He deserves better.
No, and
He
don't worry.
Deadpool had his awfulness way back in the day. All right,
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
he doesn't need to go back. Don't
Mhm.
drag him into this.
Well, to be honest, if it is going to connect to the MCU, there's a good chance he might be involved with this. You know what? He will be there to make jokes, probably. So, and then there's the post-credit scene where we see that the bar from, that the bartender from the beginning was apparently in Area 51,
Yeah,
and there's the black cockroach that's supposed to imply that Venom took, that there's a bit of Venom symbiote that's in that cockroach. By the
yeah,
by, someone told me off mic here that we need to mention that Venom also takes over a fish at some point. So there you go.
yeah. He
Venom
did.
is also
Venom
a fish at
also
some
took
point.
over a Vish. Yeah, that's when they when the military comes after him and finding the xenophage, he took over a fish and then ate another fish and became bigger and then took over a frog.
Hmm. The circle of life. But
It was
okay,
neat, I guess.
yeah, I guess. But anyway, now that we talked about the whole movie, if that's what you call it. Now comes the part where I'm going to ask you, what do you think? What do you want to see in the future of this? Even though we kind of talked about it, that it's pointless.
I don't want to see any of it because, like, I don't. I maybe again, maybe they can pull it back and make Noel something really good, right? But it's like I don't know if that's going to be a good villain because it just doesn't feel like good setup at this point. It just doesn't feel
Well,
like it matters.
besides that, I am just going to say, if you're going to actually, and I think Tom Hardy also said this would be one of his conditions. If you're bringing Tom Hardy to play Eddie and Venom again, you can't do this without Spider-Man anymore.
Yeah, like at least Miles Morales or something, right? Like you need
Yet, I don't
something.
care if it's Peter Parker. I don't care if it's Miles Morales. I don't even care if it's fucking Ben Riley.
Or hell,
Venom
Spider
needs.
Gwen. Let's do that. She's not had a film. Let's do that shit, right?
Yeah, well, apparently there's an
I mean,
animated one in the
other than
works,
the
but yeah,
animated
I
one
guess
that is in the works, right? Like she's never had a live action film. Let's do Spider Gwen. Fuck it, right?
yeah.
That could be fun
But
with
again,
Venom.
at this point, if you want to bring Tom Hardy back as Venom, you need Spider-Man in there.
Mm.
You have to. You know that people want to see this because, for God's sakes, the only Spider-Man versus Venom we had on the big screen is Spider-Man 3, and fuck Topher Grace, okay? Fuck him.
That movie. That was something back then.
Only 10 minutes of screen time. He doesn't have the tongue. He looks like a stick. Did I mention that I don't like Topher Grace? So here's the thing.
I don't
Here's
fully
my
blame
theory.
him for that one at the very least,
No,
but he definitely didn't help. He was not a good Eddie. Let's be honest.
he wasn't a good, like, when he shows up, Eddie Brockster, I work for the Daily Bugle and I'm dating your daughter. It's like, who the fuck are you? Hmm.
Ugh,
So anyway, anywho,
taking me back.
so if I were to do this, okay, if you for some reason put me in charge, and not to say that I'm a masterful storyteller or something, but I think I would do a bit of a better job. I want to assume, with this thing. Here's what I would do. You know how there's a bit of Venom now in the MCU, right?
Mhm,
Let's assume that that's attached to a Peter Parker, okay, to Tom Holland's Peter.
mhm.
And black suit, everything, yada yada yada. Now there is the thing that Venom does mention in the mid credit scene of Carnage, that and that there is this scene, there is the scene in the mid credit scene where he says that the symbiotes have kind of like a hive mind across universes and worlds and everything. So what if after he gets rid of that, after Tom Holland gets rid of that symbiote, he ends up meeting the MCU's Eddie Brock, who is also played by Tom Hardy. We've had it in before, and that's also the point where Tom Hardy transforms into the Venom that we know with the white spider logo.
Yeah, I'm fine
If
with
I
that.
if I had to do this, considering everything that's going on with this fucking franchise, this is the way I would have done it in order to rectify some damages.
I feel like though, because it's Disney, they're probably not going to use Tom Hardy, right? Because them and Sony hate each other to some degree. I think.
Not entirely sure.
I, I just by the way everything sounds like it goes off with like the Spider-Man, stuff and everything, because Sony still owns all the rights to that to some degree.
Yeah, it's like they own it, but Marvel has like Disney has some sort of a deal with them that they can use Spider-Man in the MCU,
Yeah,
and also
like neither of them are happy about it, from what I understand.
like there was something.
Like neither of them are happy at all about the entire situation. Is from what I understand. But so I feel like I could be wrong, but I feel like right if Disney does do anything with Venom, they probably won't use Tom Hardy. They might, but I don't know if they will or won't. Right?
It's I guess right now everything is up in the air.
I feel like you have a better chance of seeing Tom Hardy in the old Deadpool films as Venom than you do in anything
Yeah,
MCU.
because as far as I'm aware, I'm not sure if even there's a good chance that Spider-Man 4 is even going to take place after another Avengers movie. So maybe that's going to be something, because apparently the next Avengers is going to be like another multiverse thing. So who knows at
Yeah.
this point? Like anything can go either
I mean,
way, and and it's
Marvel
mostly
fatigue and everything, right? But like it looks like they might have something cooking. They got the Russo brothers back. We have Robert Downey Jr. coming back as Doctor Doom.
yeah. Mhm. So again, as I say, there are a lot of things that we can predict, and I think also Marvel themselves, Venom, no Venom. The MCU is going through a bit of a shakeup, and you can tell that they weren't ready for some of the stuff that they need for some of the measures they had to take. Be
Hmm.
it with Kang being out and other stuff that's happening. So
Yeah,
Mm, you can never know what's going to happen at this point. So we'll just wait and see. But if this is really the final of the Venom movies for now, sadly a lackluster ending, still goofy like the other two, but this one just feels like,
I think
wow.
it's goofy. I don't know if I'd say it's goofy like the other two. It's goofy like the other two, but in sometimes the
But
wrong
the other
ways and in
two,
sometimes in the right ways, right?
I tell you what, that's the other thing. That's the thing I want to say. The other two were goofy, but they felt like movies at the end of the day.
Yeah.
This doesn't feel like a movie.
This is more goofy because it doesn't feel like a movie at times.
Yeah, and there you go. I guess that's that. So yeah, that's the that till that do they apart. Now I just realized that they fucking spoiled the movie in the tagline. For fuck's sake.
I mean,
So
do you want more Venom after this?
obviously, I'll be down. I'll be down, but
Fair.
not right now. Like, let's wait. If it's not the Tom Hardy version, if you're going to do another thing, Spider-Man, no Spider-Man, who knows? If you're going to do like another cinematic version of Venom, we need to wait. Let's not rush into another one.
Fair. Very fair. I think this film has left a bit of a bad taste in the mouth.
Yeah, so regarding what's going to happen next with these characters, we'll see. Let's see how Craven is gonna do,
I
and
mean,
then maybe we'll know.
I will say this did make its money back, and plus a bit more.
Yeah, like the movie is doing well. It did make back its budget. It's doing the money. It's not making as much money as the other two have made, but
No.
then again, we're also kind of looking at a different time for cinemas. So
True.
yeah, we who knows at this point? Like I said, only time can tell. We can throw as many predictions as we want on the wall. Only time can tell at this point.
Fair.
But whenever time will tell, maybe we'll be here to talk about it in some way or fashion.
Sure.
So you know what? I kind of said my thing. What do you think needs to happen with this universe or Venom or in general after
Uh,
this?
Again,
What do you want?
if you want to do more with this universe, right? I really do think like stop making all these individual films that have no connections to one another and start like if you really want to do something with this, looking at Venom as a character and start setting that up and making like Venom be your anchor character here, quote unquote, to steal from Deadpool and like have him be, what everything is centered around. Have Craven connected to Venom, have Madam Web connected to Venom, and anything else in the future connected to Venom, Morbius connected to Venom, have it all connect back to Venom. I don't know how well that'll work because I feel like you've set up Venom to be too zany of a character, and that requires something a bit more serious, perhaps. But maybe you can do something with it. Maybe it'll work. I don't know. I would be willing
Hmm.
to give that a shot, and at least I think it would connect. It would have a better through line for all your films, right? I would be interested in that because it'd definitely be a lot different. And, a Spider-Man universe that's focused on Venom and not anything else. But
Yeah.
it it would require a lot of work. I'll say that, right? And I still can't tell you if it would succeed or not, but it would be different. And I'm here for different, right? I'm always going to be here for different and someone trying something different, right?
Hmm.
So
Well, with that being said, that's anything else to add? Oh.
go watch the film or don't.
Well, so this was it for this episode of the Outcast. We hope you enjoyed it. What are your thoughts about Venom: The Last Dance, and what do you think should be in the future for this universe? You can tell us all about it in the comment section below on our Tumblr, which is Berkcast Team, and on our Twitter, which is Berkcast with a capital B, capital C. So until the next episode, I was HC,
I was Wolf.
and we will see you all next time. Take care.
Bye bye.